Hi, this is Sally Wood for Be Inspired, and today I'm going to be doing these stools. The lady has them sitting at the end of her bed, so she wants them back quite quickly. It's just a basic pull-on cover, and I have 32 buttons to make. A little bit of piping at the bottom, and they're done. Nice and easy, so let's get on with it. The first thing I have to do is remove all the screws, which I'm going to do very carefully. So there's 2 screws on each side, and I'm going to do these one at a time so I can make sure that the right top goes on the right frame. The frames should all be identical, but that doesn't mean to say they are. The first thing I need to do is remove this bottom cloth. So I'm going to work my way around the top like this. Once you've removed enough of the bottom cloth, start working on the piping. One way to pull the piping off is sometimes just grab hold of it and yank. Sometimes you need to have quite a length to do it, and other times not so much. It depends how well they have the staples in. If you get a good run, you can actually pull this out. There we go. That is a lot quicker than taking each one out individually. Then you can start working on the cover itself and remove that. The cover needs to come off quite nicely. Now, even if I decide to leave this on, I still need to remove some of these staples because I don't want the new staples getting caught up on these because they're quite close to the outside edge. I've done all of the outside. These are the strings that are holding the buttons on, which I could just cut through. I always try to save where I can. I will be pulling these staples out so I can reuse the strings. 1, it means it won't be so messy under here. And 2, it will save on my own strings because I've got a couple of things that need buttons in. If you can use something like this, then do. As I go through, I can pull these out. I'll leave them attached to the buttons for now, only because that makes it easier for me. And then I'll work my way around here as well. There's my F for the front, and I am just going to put F on here. So when I have finished with this, I'll make sure that it lines up here. All that needs to happen now is for it to be peeled off. Pull that all the way around. There we go, and it's done. The cover, I'm just going to split all of these seams and use it as a template. I've got 2 to cut, so I might as well do it this way. And if you're ever unsure of what size to make something, this is always a good way of going about it. That's all you need to do on each seam. And this one had actually started opening across the bottom, so that might be a little bit tight on that corner. I don't know what they did. That sometimes happens. This fabric is really difficult to tell which way up it goes, but I rubbed it against my lips and I've determined that this way is very slightly smoother than if I bring it this way. So going this way is the front. I held it at the window and I was changing directions, but as I say, I think that's the way to go. I have to move this F round to the other side of here. Sometimes if you rub fabric against your cheek, you can tell which way it's up, but if you still can't discern, then your lips will certainly be sensitive enough to... Oh, I can bring this further down. I'm going to measure from the selvage here to the top of where the stitches were, and I'm going to place that at 7.5 inches, so that needs to come out just a wee tad more. There we go. To there. I'm going to put a pin in, but into where the seam is, not into the fabric. The fabric is a velvet and it might show. Flatten all of that out, straighten that up to the top here, and again measure from the selvage to 7.5, so that has to come in slightly. That ensures that at least at one point that there is an up and a down that's even, it's not squiffy. Push all of this fabric into place. Pin here, and the same on this side. When I look along the back here, this fabric is absolutely on the fabric and not the selvage. That's where I want it. I could bring it over because the fold to go underneath the bench is here, but I think I'm happy with it being there. I've got plenty of fabric to use. Kind of flatten that out, a couple of pins along here so it doesn't move. Gently push out from the middle, out and across, and then kind of tap it back because I don't want to push it all the way over. So if I do, when I mark these, they're going to be in a line like that, and I don't want that to happen. So coming here, see how straight this fabric actually was. This comes down, that's quite wonky. Push that up there. like that and make that as straight as possible. I'm looking to see how straight these lines are. Push the fabric across like that. Put some pins along the bottom here. There we go. Oh, that looks better. Pull this across. I'll move this out of the way so I've got a little bit more room. There we go. Push that up. Again, measure from here to make sure that's even too. 16 and just under a quarter. So I'm going to pin that. Make sure that those are out. I'm going to pull this down and into place and then measure across to this corner here. Now I need to come out here and I want a straight line. So all I'm going to do is fold that over and roll it on top. Make sure that the selvage on this side is even. And push that out, that'll be fine. It's a little bit oversized. Make sure that's going to do too. It should do. Cut along this line here. Then I've got a smaller piece of fabric that I'm dealing with. Roll that on and then I'll go and make sure the other side is doing what I want it to do too. Push that over there like that. Make sure the selvages are even on this side, which they are. And the same again. I'll just cut along this fold here. Fold this up and use that one in a minute. Now I've got less fabric to deal with. Pull that up there, up to the top, which is actually the bottom. So I'm going to put 2 clips next to each other. If I put center clips on all the 4 sides, then I won't get it mixed up. Pull this into place and pin, and along this border here. There we go. On this corner, I'm going to pull that out and just cut up like this along the outside edge of the pattern. Follow the shaping. Sometimes they're more round than straight. I'm going to pull that out there. Take that pin out. This actually looks like it should be flat. So I'm going to flatten that one out just for now. And the reason why I say is because the filaments of the fabric are more straight. Cut up here. So I'm going to check the size of the base of the bench. The top should be about 32, which it is. Really push that out and that. So I'm going to cut up here to the corner. I'm also going to cut all the way along here. I don't need to take too much off. Push that down. Push that over just a little bit. And now I'm going to cut down this side and along the bottom. Now all I've done is I've folded along to where one of the buttons goes, and I'm just going to put a little cross with pins on each mark like this. I'm only going to do it as a guide. If this is wrong, it won't matter. It won't show up anywhere else before I start sewing, because finding these marks is going to be really difficult once the item is in situ. This at least gives me an idea of where everything goes, and they shouldn't fall out because they're quite way through. I'll roll it along to the next one and do the same, just like this. Now for the nice easy part, I'm going to pop the edges together like that, and underneath, let me find one, they're not quite 1/2 inch. I'm going to pop that on the outside edge. So if I measure from the needle going down to the outside of this foot, I have plenty of room. Line those up like that. The stitch length is on a 4, so forward and back. This might not be the best foot for this job. I will have a look. If I'm not happy with it, I'll take the stitching out. Then forward and back at the bottom. Seems a bit wobbly. The place to look is actually on this side, not the other side. No, I think that will do. So I'll do all 4 sides like that. Always go from the top of the fabric down to the base. It makes life a lot easier. If anything walks, it walks at the other end. Line that one up like that. Again, forward and back. You don't have to use a walking foot. You could use a plain foot, that'd be fine. And again, forward and back at the bottom. I hadn't taken the front border back, so it's still a bit longer than the rest of it, but it'll be fine. I'm just going to make sure I've got the front at the front. Nope, I've got it on the other side, just while I checked. I'm going to see if this pulls on. This deep side with the double notches in is the front. Pop it with the corners to the corners, like that. Ease it down and into place. If I need to, I can put some more dapron on. These hardly go in at all, and they are going to go in really funky by the looks of it. If I push that down like that, it ripples. So I'm going to put a piece of dapron on and then pull it all in. That should take up any slack in the cover. Dapron goes down each side, all the way to the back and all the way to the front. I can cut it back if I need to. Velvet is unforgiving. It's a thick fabric and it likes to go in its own way. Let's take that off. The corners need to be a little bit more square on. Cut that down like that. It's loose, so it should fold over like that. Do that on all 4 corners. Again, make sure the front's at the front. that you have all your corners in place. Make sure your corner folds. It will come undone underneath, but that's okay. Push that one down in place and then go around to the back. Once you have everything in place, go back and cut back any pieces of dacron. They don't have to come over because there's other things coming over the edge. Don't cut the fabric behind. And then start working around the sides. Make sure the corners are at the corner and then just pull in the center and staple into place. Make sure that it's as even and smooth as you can. I've still got the markings in the top of the cover. I'm going to try to take some of this bulk out. This is the new dacron that I've put in. Pull the corner in at right angles, then bring it in so that it's smooth. With this, you're not pulling like you would on a chair, out or in. Pull it up and into place. It will want to pleat slightly, so do put a pleat in. This should be hidden by the piping. If you are worried, then put a little pleat further back and then a smaller one. I'm not going to bother with this. And then I'm going to work on round and start on this side, which is the opposite to there, and move forward, having made sure that my corners are in the corners. That's my only stipulation on this one. Corners to corners and then in. Just up and into place. No pulling forward. Work your way around, take your time. If you have to take anything out, take it out and re-put it in, replace it, that's fine. If you were to do two of these and they had matching patterns, then obviously you'd have to make sure as you go around that you're matching both up. Pull in at the corner and make sure there's a bit more stuff in there. Pull it in, 45-degree angle, midway point, and then into place. A little pleat there till it's all in place. This is the front side. It has the two nicks in it. Bring that up and over, goes a bit further over than the rest. Pull this into place. I'm going to leave it on here so that I can put the piping in and start on the other side and know that's the back. Always need to give yourself a point of reference when you're doing things like this. And then I'm going to just pull it in and finish it up. I'm going to be cutting this at 2 inches, not my usual 1.5, because this is going around the base of the stole. So I need to have enough of a flange to staple it in. The other thing I'm going to do is put a little nick in the top of all of these, because this is the way the pile goes. So I want to make sure the pile is going in the same direction. I've put a little arrow at the top so I know that this one and this one go together there at a 45-degree angle. Put that across there like that. Lower the foot and do it on a 2.8 so it's nice and small. So across. I'm using my piping foot with the groove in it to guide the piping. I like to go the way the grain of the fabric goes, or the pile. So I'm going to wrap it. It's about 1 inch down from the top as well, so I can pull it through if necessary. The stitch is on the longest stitch, and I'm going to sew to the end. I've discovered over the years if I go the way the grain or the pile goes, it makes piping a lot easier. Separate the joints and then cut to within 1/4 of an inch of the seam so there's not too much bulk. On a thinner fabric it doesn't matter so much, but velvets or chenille, so you often need to fold it over. Make sure your seams are open, push it right into the join and go across. Then carry on going until you've got your length of piping made up. Starting in the centre back, I'm going to pull the piping so it's just outside the piece of wood. I'm going to start about 1 inch in from the end. Pull it, make sure that the stitching is on the outside edge of the wood frame. Put your staple in and then go back. When you get to the corner, pull it to the outside edge. Again, making sure the stitches are on the outside of the piece of wood. Pull it to here. Fold it along the outside edge here. When it's in place, secure it, then work your way into the corner. There's a little bit of a gap under here, so I'm going to put all of that fabric, or as much as I can, into that gap, like that, and secure it. And I'm going to work along the side here. Move forward a ways, and then got all the way around, and I'm going to take my piping about 1.5 inches probably, like that. Then I'm going to undo this so that it comes in line with the back of the first side, like like that. Fold this over and pop this under here. Usually I don't do it this way. I'll do it with velvet because it really doesn't make any difference. It's a bulky fabric. I might need to take that over a little bit further, a little bit more. Put that underneath like that. But the two sides together so that they're even. Pull that one back and staple it so it can't move. One under there and pull it and staple it so that one can't move, and then bring that over. I'm going to just pull it out slightly so it's not such a full place. It's not perfect, but it'll do. It's going at the back against the side of the bed. Nobody will ever see it. Now I've got to do the other one. I have a number of buttons to make. I've already made some. Just cut around the button, giving a generous 1/4 of an inch all the way around like this. Not too tight, otherwise it doesn't work. Pull the fabric over, make sure it's even, and start putting it behind the teeth like that. This is rather thick fabric. Unless you've got a machine that puts these together, it's really difficult. I'm going to work my way around to make sure all of that is in there. Make sure all of those go behind the teeth. All of that fabric as evenly as you possibly can, so there's no pleats along the side. Pull it really tight, really tight. Make sure those teeth are holding as much of that fabric as possible. Once it's really well pushed in, and I mean really well pushed in, pop that over, push it down, move your way around. They should pop in. If you've got the fabric on tight enough, it should pop in. I've made 32 of these. There we go. It's popped. That's my last one. I've left them in the box here because I need 4 rows of 4, so I put 4 in each box, and I've got 4 boxes per cushion, so I know how many I've got in total. Makes life a lot easier. So I've looped the thread around the shank of the button, and with my double-ended needle with the loop up, there's a hole in the base of this cushion. I'm going to go up. Now, the reason why I put cross pins on there is so that I can work out where the center is, or as close to. There we go. Thread the threads that you're using to tie them through the end of the needle and pull it on through. Nice and simple, really. Then I'm going to pull this hard underneath like that, tip it, staple it. That's one of your buttons in place, and then move on to the next one. What I did was I put the needle through each hole, brought the tails back and stapled them one way, and then folded them and stapled the other. And that's all you have to do. It's really easy. Now for the bottom cloth, I'm just going to fold that over so I've got a straight line and staple into place. I've put the base back into place, and I've got the join of the piping on the back side so I know which way round it is, and I'm just going to use my drill to screw these in. I'm not going to screw it too tightly because, as I say, I'm using a drill, not my impact. And I'll go all the way around and put these in. I have discovered over the years sometimes they go in really well and sometimes they don't. Thank you for joining me on this project. I hope that I managed to impart some useful information and tips on how to do this. I prefer the oversized buttons. I think that is more in keeping with this piece than the smaller ones that it had in. So I'm just hoping that she'll be equally as thrilled as I am with the look that she's got. Please subscribe and hit the bell button if you want to hear more from me, and a few thumbs up would be absolutely brilliant, and then I know how I'm getting on. And in the meantime, see you later. Take care. Ciao.